Hey, we want to thank Bill.com for being a sponsor of the Thrivecast. Our firm, Blummer CPAs, has used Bill.com as a foundational part of our tech stack for many, many years. We're a virtual firm and we work with clients virtually all over the US. And so we have to have a virtual platform like Bill.com. So thank you, Bill.com, for sponsoring the Thrivecast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Thrivecast. We're in the middle of a really cool series. This is part 2 of 4 on a series of crypto. So we're diving into fully try to understand this topic. There's so much going on in the world. And as you know from our last show, we have Sonia Dumas. She is the cryptocurrency educator and investor, and she's the chief editor at Alt Money. And you guys probably recognize her from CPA Academy. So a lot of our listeners are also on that CPA Academy. And so we want to welcome you to connect with Sonia on LinkedIn. Follow her at altmoney.com. She's the one educating our profession on crypto. So Sonia, welcome to the show. We're so pumped to have you.
So good to be back, Jason.
Yeah.
Fun times ahead in crypto.
Fun times ahead in crypto. There's a lot going on. And of course, our world is changing, globally, geopolitically, in so many different ways. So maybe we'll dive into all that. So Sonia, I just want to dive right in. I want to ask you a quick question. So this first one is, and really this show, we're going to get a little more practical on how to use crypto, how should you not use crypto, all these things. And so one thing about crypto, unlike the public markets, is that crypto's trading 24/7, 365. I mean, it never stops. And so the emotional swings of this can be pretty rough as you're riding those bull and bear markets because it changes moment to moment. So how do you manage the ups and downs?
So one of the first ways to manage the ups and downs is first to ask yourself, am I an investor or am I a trader? Traders and investors have two different mindsets, and actually traders love the volatility, right? They love these ups and downs, whether it's intraday or weekly, whereas investors are like, oh my gosh, I just lost 30,000. And then 2 days later, oh my God, I'm up 50,000. Wonderful. And so understanding like what your bigger picture is one of the ways, but also one of the super awesome things about crypto is that there's something called on-chain analytics. Basically, we have the ability to see the price movement, to see volume, money flow, to see money moving on exchanges, off exchanges in a way that this level of transparency does not exist in the traditional stock market. And so I'm a visual learner, and I'm sure a lot of you are too. So I think the best way, Jason, to show the ups and downs is to actually show a graph of some analytics that we do to be able to track this very thing. So maybe you want to show that first.
Okay, cool. So John, in our studio, we're going to pull up an image to kind of visually see these ups and downs. And Sonia, we're going to have you walk us through that. So John, we'll let you pull that up now. Okay, Sonia, we got it on the screen. I think our listeners and watchers on YouTube can do this. So teach us these ups and downs of crypto. What the heck are we looking at?
Absolutely. So what you're looking at is one of the metrics we use, and we call it the trend force, right? So the pink line, the magenta hot pink line, it represents the larger trend at play. And then the blue line actually represents Bitcoin's actual price. Nice. And so this is the way to say, are we on target with understanding the larger trends? Now, just looking at this without even having a sense of what Bitcoin's price is, you can see that there is a level of, there's a cyclicness to it. There's a seasonality, there's a pattern. And so for those who think Bitcoin's price is wild and sporadic and we don't know where it's going, that's actually not true. Bitcoin is no different than any other financial market. It's humans and their money, and it's all being reflected in price. Do you have a quick question on that?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, I'm thinking everybody probably would say, no way are there patterns to Bitcoin's ups and downs. And so you're teaching us that there are. Now, and so we know investors, traders are going to act differently, and particularly emotions really drive a lot of when they get into a market, when they get out of a market. I think just normal financial vehicles, that's how people act. Bitcoin's the same way. So are you saying you can predict crypto a little bit more than we thought you could. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm saying you can forecast it a little bit
Okay.
more than we
All
thought
right.
we could. Especially in the since 2020, it has actually become a lot more, I would say, forecastable, predictable in the
Okay.
sense of what's the highest probability. So the thing is, when you were speaking about emotions,
Yeah.
so recently, this year, people were buying this high that was happening in this February, April zone,
Yeah.
whereas our analytics were saying, hey, we're reaching a top. And sure enough, we did reach a top and the market contracted accordingly. And there are people who are still suffering
Yeah.
from 2021. And you can see
Yeah.
it repeated
Yeah.
into the year. So November, October, once again, that was a peak for Bitcoin when it almost hit, 70,000, and it's been going down ever since. Well, there's a cyclic next to it that says, hey, for every down, there's an up. At some point, you have to reach the bottom. And we're actually seeing that coming into the summer where we're actually now, so starting going into March on, we're actually seeing the trend shift back up. And so what's important to realize is I'd like to say there are bigger things at play outside of just it's the price movement. And so when we look at the
Okay.
trend force, we're
Yeah.
looking at what's actually going to draw the price down or up. So
I
it doesn't
see.
matter if you're having these little gyrations of
Yeah.
intraday
Okay.
action where it's moving $2,000 to $5,000 or $2,000 to $10,000. When we see that the larger trend is actually pulling the price down, then it's coming down. It's coming down hard. But when it's pulling the price up, even when it has a dip, it's not that trend for that moment. And you can see this last months. This
Yeah.
isn't weak. So going back to, hey, how do I know when to buy or sell? Well, if you're a swing trader, so not like intraday day trading, but if you're a
Yeah.
swing trader, and that's one of the things that I am, I'm part investor. So, holding Bitcoin for the long term, but I'm also a swing trader, which means over courses of months, I will ride a larger trend. And actually I call that easy street. Like it,
Nice.
if I'm not selling, it's because at the end of the day, it's showing that, hey, the longer trend, so you can look at this chart, the longer trend from August last year to
Yeah.
November was up. So as
Right.
long as I know, okay, what's my exit then? Well, my exit would have been somewhere prior to that top, because what this force shows is not necessarily where the price is going to go. It just shows the current trajectory of the price. And that's what you ride, because you do not know when Bitcoin is going to tap its lows, which right now has been in the 30s, but you
Yeah.
also don't know when it's going to go to its all-time high. But if you're riding the larger trend and you're
Okay.
following that model, I think it's a better way to engage with Bitcoin outside of, well, is it going to reach 80,000? Probably. I was like,
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if if it taps just below 100,000 May to June. And that's just seeing where this has moved before.
Okay.
So and that's just, like I said, some of my own analytics.
Yeah. Well, that's what people follow you for at Alt Money. So you don't just have blogs there. You have a lot of market analysis about crypto, right? You do
Yes.
regular shows
Exactly.
about what is this thing doing? What is it going to do? And so do you help people know when to buy, sell? Or would you say, no, that's not what I'm trying to do to help, so don't listen to
No,
me to go buy
actually, that's
something?
not.
Okay. It's like,
That's the whole point of our analytics, is to
Okay.
help inform decisions.
Nice.
And the analytics we look at, it's over 70 different metrics. We only show a handful to say, here's some metrics we're looking at. Consider what your money game plan is. Once again, are you a trader?
Yeah.
You invest? Because even if you're an investor, every investor still wants to buy low.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's against that.
Yeah, right.
So even if you do, and you're like, because one of the things I get from a lot of people is, oh, it's too late to buy Bitcoin because it's 30, 40,000. I'm like, well, not really. Because if you understand where the local lows are, because Bitcoin has found support as of now in this $30,000 range, the chances of it going back to 10 and 20, highly unlikely. Now, hey, if the aliens show up and World War III kicks off, that's a different story. But
Right.
as long as that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
30,000 is now the support for Bitcoin. So when someone says, hey, I missed it, no, you actually have not, because until until all your neighbors and it becomes commonplace and it's like
Yeah.
Visa, MasterCard, Bitcoin at every
Right.
store you shop at,
Right.
we haven't really hit the peak of full mass adoption just yet.
Okay. Now, so help me when you're saying it's at 30,000. Like, what does that mean? What, like, for just somebody who doesn't even know what that means, and it could go to, then you stated another number. What
Yeah.
are those
So
things? Or
that's
there's
just-
adoption at 30,000 or whatever.
So what it means is, as of now, Bitcoin from a global perspective is maintaining support at $30,000. That means one Bitcoin represents $30,000 of value, because
Oh,
that's what the globe is saying.
okay.
That's the bottom for Bitcoin right now.
I see.
And right
Okay.
now, Bitcoin is continue. Actually, not right now. Since it came out, 2008, 2009,
I
it's
see.
really been in price discovery mode. So it's definitely over the next 3 years, the next
Mm,
36 months, Bitcoin is going to, one, prove itself as, because when Satoshi released Bitcoin, it's supposed
mm,
to be permissionless, censorship resistant,
mm.
borderless. What's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now
Yeah,
actually proves Bitcoin's ultimate use case, to
for
say that
sure.
a government cannot financially censor you
Mm,
if you're an innocent party to some crazy dictators doing
right.
their own thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I'm just trying to pay my rent. I'm just trying to have food on
Yeah.
the table for my family. And
Okay.
if their money is in their local currency
Mm,
versus in Bitcoin, if their money's in Bitcoin, which a lot of people are moving to it, they're
yeah.
not as subject to these geopolitical issues as they normally would be if their currency was still, if their money was still connected to their local currency.
Okay. Very cool. Okay. So what about 30, these 36 months? Do you think, are
Mhm.
we going to get to some mass adoption in that short period of time? Or will it be Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin? Is that going to take 10 years to, like, when does it become mass adoption? Do you have a clue?
So I
Come on.
think the next 36 months for sure, because here's the thing, 2020, the whole market cap for crypto was around 350 million.
Mm,
We're hovering around 2 trillion right now.
good
And
grief.
some of the analytics I've seen have said that, hey, crypto is actually meant to be, specifically Bitcoin, an $18 trillion market. And this has happened fast. The conversation
Mm,
from 2020 to now has completely changed. I mean, the
mm.
Super Bowl, if that wasn't clear enough that
Right.
crypto's here to stay,
Ah, man, that's
every other
amazing.
commercial, I mean, the fact that you have crypto exchanges owning sports stadiums, that's a part of mass adoption. And what people don't understand is mass adoption actually starts with art and entertainment first. And then it gets normalized into every coffee shop, mechanic, your manicurist, everyone's accepting it.
Wow.
So 10 years, it'll be normal. I say, because technology moves so fast, like, crypto as a whole changes not every 6 months, every quarter. So
Yeah.
every quarter is really like a year. So the catch up, the learning curve only gets steeper the longer it takes people time to understand this. This is why I'm so passionate about educating,
Yeah.
because it's like, if you wait a year, oh, I'll figure it out next year. Well, technically you're 4 years behind the curve then.
Wow. Okay. So from the things you're telling me now, I kind of want to compare a couple of different things, and we'll go in these
Mhm.
directions now. Is use studies of crypto. So do we
Mhm.
become investors, or do we start offering it to pay and sell services? Like, which one do we do?
Mhm.
Do we do both? So we can start with the investment. Should we go?
Uh-huh.
Should everybody go invest some money in crypto right now? Should they do that?
Should they? That's a hard question to ask. I mean, my
Or what
internal
parameters
sides
would
want to
you
say yes, go do it, because
do it?
I'm biased. I'm
Right.
biased.
Okay.
But you study crypto long enough, especially Bitcoin. Like,
Mm,
let's not like focus on all the other altcoins, because that's a
mm.
different story. But if
Yeah.
you focus on Bitcoin and what it's intended to do, it's intended to be obviously a medium of exchange, being able to
Mhm.
transfer wealth globally, but it's
Yeah.
also supposed to be about capital preservation. It's supposed to be about you always having control of your money. And so you have to look at those core ideas. A lot of people, I recommend, read the Bitcoin white paper. It's only
Yeah.
9 pages.
Yeah.
There's very little math involved. So those
Yeah.
of you who are like, I can't do algorithms, don't worry,
Right.
it's not in there, or it's not thick enough.
Right.
But understand what Satoshi was trying to create, an ability for us to control our money, but also to be able to grow it. And the growth really happens through this price discovery, because at some
Mm.
point, Bitcoin will plateau. And I don't know what that number is going to be, but eventually
Okay.
Bitcoin will plateau. It'll probably move 1 to 2% a year, and
Mm.
that's it. And it then becomes, so one of the things I say is, eventually Bitcoin becomes a stable coin. It stabilizes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that's that. And most of the people who made the money made on the way up, just like all tech. Anyone who would have bought
Yep.
Google, Apple
Yeah.
Amazon back in 2000, you're doing
Right.
pretty well right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
did you? One of the reasons why a lot of us did not buy Apple, Amazon, and Google back in the early 2000s is because we had no idea what they were really doing. We had no idea of the bigger vision and how it would impact life. And so those of us who are in crypto, a lot of us remember 2000. I was in college at the time, so
Yeah.
my priorities were a little different.
Right.
But now for me, I recognize, oh my goodness, this is another tech shift. And
Yeah.
I will not be missing out on this. I do not want my friends in network to miss out on this next tech shift, seeing what the last tech shift did.
Okay.
So,
Right. And
yeah.
knowing the last tech shift, you could have made a lot of money through that investment. You're wanting to let people know this thing's here to stay. We still don't know a lot about its near-term future, but it is going to be a part of our economy, global economy.
Yes.
You know?
Global economy. And that's the
Global.
bigger thing. Because now with remote work, so now we all can work anywhere, play anywhere. So why not have money that is as mobile as we are? Like if I go to think about, I never have to deal with foreign currency exchanges ever again.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin becomes a normalization, so you look at what's happening in Latin America, you look at what's happening in different African nations and in Asia. And so that becomes, I look at that saying, wow, you're now going to have these global citizens. And then the next race will be countries fighting for the best talent, because we're now no longer necessarily locked to a particular border. It's who's going to attract the best talent, and that's going to come down to taxes and friendliness, especially with taxes.
Yeah, for sure.
Being tax friendly and crypto friendly. Those are the nations and the countries that will attract a lot of great talent.
Wow, that's amazing. And so just for the listeners and for people like me, so Web3 and crypto is this broader terminology. Bitcoin is one of the many coins.
Yes.
It was the original coin, and that's why you're tracking one coin as part of your trending. Now that's one coin. There's a lot of coins. But you are tracking Bitcoin because it's the first one. Is that why you're trending things around that coin?
It's the first one. It's the most mature. It's been the most secure. It's the one that, for instance, Square, Jack Dorsey, and Michael Saylor over at MicroStrategy, they're building out networks to support it. You just sent me something. Time Magazine's now accepting Bitcoin for their subscriptions. So Bitcoin is, for all intents and purposes, the most stable and mature and most trusted coin in the crypto sphere first. Yes, there are other altcoins like Ethereum that come second, but you have to see, like, what will people feel the most? Crypto's already like, oh, I'm nervous about it. Yeah. So if you are going to dip your toe in the water, you have to start with Bitcoin to really understand what it's. You have to start with Bitcoin because it's the not barometer, but it's the standard. There we go. It's the standard by which all other coins are really judged.
Okay, that's why you can pull a trend force out of it. And help identify a little bit of the market.
That's the other thing, because it's also been around since 2000. We've been tracking this since 2008, 2009. Okay. Whereas some of these other coins, they've only been out for 6 months or only like 2 or 3 years. And so you also want that history, because these patterns, it takes time. It definitely a year or longer. It takes time. And the longer something is around, it also shows you where its support levels are at. So, who knows? One day we may see that Bitcoin is supported at above $100,000, and that's the bottom for it. Yeah. So that comes with time and adoption. And right now we're in price discovery mode.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. One thing about crypto, I think, that's helping us all see, and sometimes you don't realize your situation until you have something to compare it to, but, monetary policy and countries that have their own money. And we do exchanges with other countries, to the ruble, right? To the yen, to a lot of different. And so we're used to going back and forth. When something like this enters our world, we can now compare them. And especially, with the difficult things happening in our world right now, we can see the immediate impact on just the Russian people economically about what they're going to face. And it's all based upon a monetary policy and impacts and hits and sanctions, whereas crypto avoids every bit of that. It would bypass every bit of that. And so one day, do you see a world where economic sanctions may not be as powerful if something like a crypto is something that is at play in personal households in countries around the world, like how does that work out if we use economic power to impact other countries and force them to geopolitically obey in certain ways if we have no economic power over their currency? What will crypto allow us to do? That's a huge question, and that's a big question.
That is, and it's, this is putting on my like creative hat, because you can go in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
But on one end, if there was ever a case for cryptocurrency, this Russia-Ukraine situation or the China-Taiwan situation as well, that's boiling as well, shows that, back in the day, it was just bomb them, right? Send some bombs and you can wipe out a country, was the physical invasion. And now it's more digital, right? Digital invasion, which comes from this whole, economic policy, which I think what's happening with the Russia and the Ukraine is it's showing the innocent lives that are impacted by just a few people at the top who are making decisions that harm others. Yeah. And so why should an entire country of people who are just trying to, like I said, pay their bills, maintain their families? And so crypto does open that opportunity to say, I'm going to be tie my wealth to, or my money to, basically the internet, because that's the country. The country is the internet, right? Wow. I'm tying it to the internet in a way that I can spend. Now, here's the challenge that we'll see over the next couple of years is, one, you can't necessarily go to every place that you already pay. Like, think about paying your rent. Most landlords do not accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. Not now, but in the future they will. And so right now we're in this discovery zone. So it's not as easy to say, fine, I can't access my bank accounts, I'll just pay with crypto directly. Not everything in your life is has the ability to accept crypto as of now. But in the future, I see more of that happening, which is also why you see every government is creating their own, what they call a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. So China already has theirs. I believe it's Sweden and Switzerland. Everyone's working on one where it's, hey, here's now the digital dollar, or here's the, digital Swiss franc or whatever. But here's the thing, even with a digital version of what we already have, they can then still lock you out, right? They can still shut down because they control their blockchains. Because the thing about blockchains is it can be programmed to either be public, private, and those who control the blockchain ultimately controls what happens with that money. So you can still be censored in the future if people choose to adopt various countries, central bank digital currencies. And so I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. It will be an interesting shift, but this is where Bitcoin comes into play. If Bitcoin is pretty much accepted everywhere globally, just like, what was it? Was it, I think it was, what was the slogan? I don't know if it was MasterCard or Visa that says everywhere you want to be. Or was it American Express? I can't remember.
One of those, right? I remember that.
Right, everywhere you want to be. So when Bitcoin becomes everywhere you want to be, then it definitely makes financial sanctions a lot more difficult for, I think there's a balance, right? So there are the bad guys you absolutely do want to censor. There are the good guys and the innocents that you don't. But it seems like world global policy has been just censor everybody. Yeah. Regardless of if they're good or bad, and create enough pressure and stress that whatever dictator's in charge is going to then change their mind. Well, by nature, dictators aren't, they're not known for their humanity. Yeah, they're not stable. Right. So, it's, what was it? Was it Marie Antoinette that said, let them eat cake, right? Her people are dying. She's like, right? Human history shows that, people who are unstable and who are, monarchs and dictators, they actually don't have humanity to care about their people. Otherwise, they would have done different things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's a huge conversation about the future of monetary and economic policy around crypto. So I took us down a huge road we probably can't even solve. So we're kind of talking about these two areas. So investments is something, I'm interested in. in. And so with the rewards, yields, these opportunities, things you normally would say about, just normal financial stocks you would invest in. You're saying investment does make sense in crypto. You can make money on your investments. Is it like a normal policy where you need to get in and hold, like you need to get in an index fund to be safe and hold that for a long time? So should people invest in crypto? And I think the answer is yes. And also, can you make some money doing this? Can I go make some money? That's what I want to know.
Well, I don't think crypto would be crypto wouldn't be a conversation if there wasn't money to be made.
There you go.
Like if it was just like the theory of blockchain, be like, okay, that's nice. That's boring. But hey, make some money and make it fast. It's like Vegas on the internet, right?
That's right. Now we're interested.
And so. Right. And so in that, I'd say it's subjective. I mean, obviously, I'm not giving anyone financial, legal, or tax advice.
Right.
But it comes down to what are your money goals? And then looking at how crypto can play maybe a small role, right? It doesn't have to be everything. And this is why even financial advisors are like, okay, 5%. Like you can have 5% of your portfolio. That's what they're suggesting to some of their clients.
Okay.
But yes, there is money to be made because here's the thing. Cryptocurrency, specifically of Bitcoin. So there's another aspect of cryptocurrencies called stable coins, which in theory stabilize to about $1. And it usually fluctuates between like 0.99 cents and like $1.01. It fluctuates between there, but it stabilizes. Okay. So there are some people who are like, I don't want to deal with the fluctuations of Bitcoin, all these other altcoins. Well, if you took, for instance, $10,000 and you transferred it into a stable coin, like stable coins like USDC is one of the top ones.
Yeah.
USDT, Tether, is another one. And you went to a platform like Celsius. So Celsius Network says, hey, you deposit your $10,000 of stable coin on our platform. Last time I checked, you have to double check, but their interest rates range from 10 to 14%.
Good grief.
Now the price is stable. Right. What bank is giving you 10 to 14% just to stabilize your $10,000? So that is a way to interact with crypto where you're at, assuming you're with USDC, that stable coin heads under more US regulations and Tether's more of a global one. It's not 100% regulated. They've been fined for all kinds of things. But the whole point is someone can still participate in crypto. And I would say that is the lowest risk way. Okay. You have a stable coin and you put it on an app like Celsius. Celsius is one of the largest and well-known. Nexo is another one where you deposit your stable coin of $10,000. It stays at $10,000 plus it earns anywhere from, like I said, 10% interest or more. You have to go to their website though to see what their latest rates are. Wow. But that's just the bare minimum of yearly. Then if you want to get into decentralized finance and go larger, then you can look at their opportunities 30, 40, 50% returns. But then you open yourself up to different risks and there's more responsibility. Yeah. So that's just some of my thoughts on that.
Hey, the Thrivecast is now on the Earmark CPE platform. So you can get free CPE just by listening to the Thrivecast and answering a few questions every single month. So find the Thrivecast on the Earmark app now. Thanks. Wow, that is amazing. So does the Fed's conversations around some of the monetary policy around them trying to raise interest rates and they're trying to protect us from a recession, at least here in the U.S. economy, do the Fed's conversations affect some of the patterns of the trend force? Because the Fed is very monetary, embedded, not crypto at all. Does it have an effect on what people believe and the emotions about crypto, the digital side?
Absolutely. So especially back in December, I'm in various crypto chat groups, and there were guys who were like, "I'm not even in the U.S. I never cared about U.S. policy, but why am I freaked out about what Jay Powell is about to say?" Right.
And so these people,
we're all waiting. And so on one end, the minute it was mentioned that, hey, the interest rates are going to be raised multiple times this year, it's already baked into the price. So that fear of like what's going to happen, it's already in there. And so one of the things at Alt Money that we posted that's free for anyone to read through is we posted something called One Big Tech Cycle. And in that article, I showed that actually rising interest rate, it may sound like this is crazy, but rising interest rate markets actually grow tech sectors. So we show actual graphs that says that there are essentially 4 seasons of the interest rate. There is the zero rate season, which we're in now.
Yeah.
There's the rising rate season.
Right.
There's the plateaued season. And then there's the drop off. Everywhere from zero all the way to plateau, that's actually when money is being poured into tech stocks. And we showed the NASDAQ 100, and we showed that during that zero rate, rising rate, plateaued season, the NASDAQ took off like crazy. Like tech actually does well in a rising interest rate market. And then, but we also find out that when it plateaus, when interest rates actually plateau, that's when all the FOMO hits. That's when greed is at its max, and nobody expects the rates to drop. But when it does, then all the tech sector comes down. Crypto is tech. Crypto is a tech sector. It's a new, I guess you could say, subsector of this bigger, I said sector called tech, or industry called tech.
Yeah.
And so when you recognize that so far historically, and this is going back well over 20 years, showing that for the last 20 years, every time we've been in a rising interest rate environment, the tech sector has actually done very well.
Wow. Okay, that is cool.
Yeah.
And so you can't really see that stuff without patterns and looking over periods of time, which is what you guys do at Alt Money. Okay. Well, okay, so the trending helps. So let's say we're investing in crypto and we're like, actually, I want to put, I want to put $5,000 of some disposable U.S. cash into crypto, whether I choose stable or something a little, riskier. How do I know when to hold it, when to fold it? I'm trying to guess the market, Bitcoin, because I want to make some cash. So how do you do it? How do you know when to go, I'm going to sell out, or at least sell out half of my Bitcoin portfolio? How do you know?
Right. Well, to do a shameless plug, one, sign up for Alt Money, because you shouldn't be guessing. You should not be guessing.
Okay.
Am I at the top? If you're guessing, you'll be on the wrong side of a trend. Or, you might as well just go to crypto Twitter and take financial advice from there. Because
you don't want to
the thing
do
is,
that.
You don't want to do that because there's information out there. There's no reason why you should, trust me, back when I was doing this in 2019, we had to sort of guess. There was not the amount of analytics out there.
Right.
We were just like, well, kind of. But now that we have access to analytics, I don't guess anymore. I'm actually quite calm when the market moves up and down because, one, I know I'm on the right side of the trend. And so being on the right side of the trend is how it helps you to get in. But as far as when to fold it, it really depends on what you're doing. If you're a long-term investor and you're looking to dollar cost average into Bitcoin because you want to accumulate Bitcoin like people have accumulated Berkshire Hathaway stock, right? Like you want to do it over a long period of time and then systematically sell it in the future, then you want to find out when the market is bottoming because that's the ideal time to buy. Now, if you have more shorter term needs where, hey, I just want to ride these larger cycles which is multi-month cycles. So there's usually, one of the things that we posted in our group is that the Q1 and Q1? No, take it back. Q2 and Q4, from what we're seeing from our analytics, will be better than Q1 and Q3. Now, Q1 we already saw was crappy. The market was all down.
It fell out.
Well, we're expecting We're expecting Q2 to actually be strong. We're expecting Q3 to once again be just as crappy, if not worse, than Q1. And then we're expecting Q4 to actually do very well. And so knowing that you really only have 2 times in a year, that's ideal to get in at a bottom or to get out at a top, just twice. And that's actually, and I've seen that for the time that I've been in crypto, is that it's actually lessened. It used to be, from the time I got in, I'd say 3 to 4 times a year. There were some nice peaks, but as more people move in, it seems to slow down. And we only have twice a year that there's a significant, there's intraday, intra-week peaks, but I'm talking about significant highs and significant lows. It's about 2 to 3 times a year.
Okay. And will that continue? It sounds like, I don't know if the word is stabilizing. Will that continue to stabilize, to have just larger and smaller peaks, not smaller, but
Yeah.
less often, less volatile, maybe.
That's why I was saying Bitcoin will eventually become a stable coin, because it will be able to
Okay.
stable out at some point, and then you won't
Ah.
have these, you won't have these massive rush ups. Like, for instance, the last time we saw a peak, we got the signal that a peak was coming was when Bitcoin was at 40,000. It ran to 70,000 in 33 days, so a little over a month. And
Wow.
then that was it. So knowing that, so now we have the analytics to say when this particular metric is triggered, we know that we have pretty much a 1 to 2 month window to say, you know what, an all-time high is coming in. So then we can set our strategy. Are we going to buy? Are we going to, one, stop buying because we're too close to the top? Are we
Right.
going to sell, maybe take some profits, take some capital off the table, take some profits,
Yeah.
and then let that downtrend unfold, so that way we can buy more. Or if you're shorting the market, some people
Yeah.
are brave to short. I'm not a shorter.
Yeah.
I like sleeping at night. I was I was losing sleep trying to short. I was like, no, that's
This
not
is not
me.
working
So
for
I had
me
to learn that
emotionally.
it's not working. It is not working. When you're up at 2 a.m. in the morning wondering, is China crashing the market right
Oh my
now?
gosh.
Am
You're like,
am I about to be liquidated?
yeah.
Oh
You're like,
no.
this is
I
too
had to
much.
say,
I gotta stop this.
not me.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
And but what that shows though is that was a part of my strategy, right? Like there's a level of curiosity. At least I have a level of curiosity to just try something out, even at a small level. So going back to whether or not someone should invest, it's more like, one, what are your money goals? Two, is what you're doing currently addressing those goals? And if
Okay.
it's not, start super
Yeah.
small. So that
Okay.
way you can at least say, one, can I even handle that emotionally? That's
Yeah.
important.
Okay. So yeah, because I guess you would say to any investor, if you're ready to start investing, don't cash out your 401k and put 100 grand in it, right? You're like, that's not how anybody invests in anything,
No,
right? Crypto's
no,
the same.
no.
If you have
Same.
disposable 5 grand, no, you may lose that. You're going to need to practice a little bit. So maybe put that in. But it sounds like
Yes.
there's ways to invest. Like, could people say, well, I want to follow alt money. I want to put 5 grand in. I want to try to get about 20 grand so I can start a business. Like, can we do things like that? Like,
Oh, absolutely. That goes back to your money goals. Like,
okay,
what's the
yeah,
point of the money, right? Is it
okay,
now to fund a business, to pay your rent, for your
okay,
retirement, to buy a car for your kids' education?
yeah,
Like, that's where it starts. Like, what's your
okay,
goal? Because that also helps inform when you get in, when you get out, if at
okay,
all. And it's also, and you actually brought up a good point. So on alt money, there's a trading section. Now you don't have to be a trader, but there's a couple of softwares that we utilize to basically automate our trades. But what's really cool is they have something called a demo mode. So you can
yeah,
trade Bitcoin with
nice,
virtual money and test. So you can test your strategy. You can
wow,
test to see, okay, if I bought it, what would happen in real time? And you can see how you feel emotionally with fake money first. Because at the end of the
that's
day,
funny.
the bots don't care if you give it $5,000 or $500,000. It's
That's
going to do
right.
whatever the strategy you gave it to do. So
Wow.
I like to, whenever someone, especially show them how to do bot trading, I said,
Yeah.
start with the demo mode. It's fake virtual money. And if you are losing sleep that your robot who's trading fake money is losing money, the real one,
You ain't
when real
ready.
money's on the line, you ain't ready.
You ain't ready for that. So that's funny. All right.
Start
This good.
there.
So, okay, so we were talking about investment. Now, how about a medium of exchange? So now, we run a CPA firm. Like, do we need to say, hey, we take crypto now for payment for our services? Like, or should Nike start selling shoes and accept crypto? Is it a medium of exchange now, just economic exchange for goods and services?
So this is also an aspect of Bitcoin specifically that I absolutely love, and I'm sharing with CPAs and business leaders. And there's three concepts: payments, payroll, and perks. And so
Nice.
payments is not only you receiving Bitcoin as payments, but you paying vendors in Bitcoin as well, because some
Right.
vendors may say, hey, we'll give you a discount off your invoice if you pay us in Bitcoin.
Nice.
So knowing that Bitcoin becoming a part of your operations, that's a larger conversation. And this is where CPAs are going to be needed because one, this is a whole different level of accounting and tracking, because how do you we're all used to accepting a form of payment that's stable. What happens when you accept a form of payment that, yes, you paid me a $10 invoice in Bitcoin, but now that Bitcoin's worth $20, or now that Bitcoin is worth $8. Like, how do you stabilize that? And there's opportunities to do that. So I think from a business standpoint, yes, looking into operations, because here's the thing, that we're seeing from a marketing side that people who are, or businesses that are raising their hands saying we accept Bitcoin, guess what? They're attracting people with Bitcoin to say, yeah, I'll shop with you. Yeah, I'll spend my money with you. Yes, I'll do services because I have Bitcoin. So it's actually a lead generation marketing tool to say I accept Bitcoin. So that's the payment side. Then there's payroll. We already know there are athletes who are getting their entire contract in Bitcoin. We already know that there are CEOs who are having their entire salary in Bitcoin. So what happens when you're employed as a part of you trying to attract the best talent to your firm? What if they say, look, it's between you and another firm and they're going to pay me in Bitcoin and you're not. So where are they going to go? So being able to offer your employees the option to have some of their payroll be all or some of Bitcoin, and there are services that allow for that. I believe there's a service called NYDIG that allows for payroll, and there are a lot of like Bitcoin payroll services. So don't think like you have to figure it out. There are services that have figured that out. And the last thing is perks. So perks is all about loyalty programs. This goes back to sales and marketing. So there's a company called Lolly where, and I actually used them the other day, where I went to Chewy.com to buy some food for my little 14-week-old miniature schnauzer.
Nice.
And because I installed the Lolly Chrome app, Chrome extension, I am now going to get 4% Bitcoin back. So instead of getting cash back rewards or getting points, they're giving me 4% Bitcoin back on my purchase for my little guy because I bought some dog food. And so once again, that becomes a sales and marketing side to say, who wants cash back? I don't, because if I get 4% Bitcoin back and Bitcoin goes up, now my 4%, maybe it's now worth, more than that. Maybe it's an 8% return. So the idea is that companies are saying you don't even have to go buy Bitcoin. We'll give it back to you as rewards. And you can then go spend Bitcoin anywhere, which once again creates a lot of loyalty. So payments, payroll, and perks is what happens when you start to look at Bitcoin specifically as a medium of exchange, because that's actually what it was meant to do.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I didn't even think you were going to go that way. I was just wanting to know, do you exchange? You got this whole philosophy of, so you're saying, and I never thought about this. So a company can be a better positioned company to go, we take Bitcoin, we're going to attract a certain kind of customer that's like, you guys are ahead of the market. I am certainly going to use a firm like yours. You're saying that's even a positioning move into a market to accept that maybe a more risk-focused type, client or something like that. I never thought about that. That's so cool.
And beyond risk focus, forward thinking, because here's the thing, client is also thinking about their clients. And if their clients, especially as consumers in retail that want to spend money, and some of that money happens to be in crypto, specifically Bitcoin, they want that market share, right? They want those sales. And so if the difference between you and a similar company is a difference between we accept Bitcoin or we don't, because there's no harm in them not choosing to pay you in Bitcoin. But the fact is there's the option, and giving people options, just like back in the day, it was cash only, then cash and check, then cash, check, and credit card. And now companies, when's the last time you come across a company that doesn't accept a credit card? And when they don't, we're all frustrated. Like, I don't have any cash on me. I don't have a check. And then you don't want to do business with them, right? Because you're like, why don't you accept a credit or a debit card? Now it's going to be, cash and check has pretty much gone the way of the dinosaur. It's been disintegrated. Now we're in the credit, debit card, Venmo, Zelle, Apple Pay. And now we're shifting into, oh, by the way, Bitcoin too.
That is so awesome. Okay, well, how do you do that? Let's say a lot of our listeners are, firm owners. How do they do that? I mean, they're going to I want to accept Bitcoin, more of the, the original stable coin. So that's the one I want to start accepting. A lot of times we'd go get a product, or we'd integrate it with our, QuickBooks software or something, or we'd how do we accept it? Because there's got to be a product that's doing that for us out on the market.
So that is where a lot of services are coming, or creating services for that. So Coinbase is probably the largest as far as on U.S. base, the largest commercial payments processor for Bitcoin.
Okay.
So there's Coinbase. They have institutional accounts and business accounts you can set up. Gemini has a similar thing.
Okay.
I do know that PayPal and Square, they're working on services to do just that.
Yeah.
I do actually. I want to say Square, if I recall correctly. I know Square, Shopify are now accepting Bitcoin as payment. So one, your current gateways, go to them and ask them, hey, if I want to accept Bitcoin, do you have that integration available? And if they don't, then you have to look at like plan B, looking at Coinbase, looking at Gemini. For example, there's a company called Coin Payments. That's a little bit more technically advanced, but there are definitely, like, if you just type up Bitcoin as payments, there are a lot of services out there. I would stick with some of the more, I guess you could say, more mature ones that are out there. But like I said, Coinbase is the one that comes top of mind. But yeah, it's only a matter of time. Like, I think this time next year, we'll see a lot more services and integrations that easily allow for this and that easily connect, because any merchant service that's not offering a Bitcoin option, they're going to lose customers. They're going to lose their merchants, because we're going to go to other platforms to say what. And here's the other cool thing. I forgot to mention this, but when you accept Bitcoin as payments, guess what your fees are? 1% or less.
Man.
Who would love to stop paying 2%, 2 to 5%, especially for international? Has anyone ever been paid from an international client and they took out 5 to 10%?
Yeah.
Well, those days are gone, because if you're accepting Bitcoin, a lot of these services are charging a maximum of 1%. I've seen it as low as 25 basis points, so 0.25.
Yeah.
So think about all that extra money that comes to your pocket when you accept Bitcoin as payments.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so Coinbase is like our merchant provider, right? And they're charging 1% so that we can take Bitcoin for our services, is kind of how that's working.
Yeah.
So
you can Coinbase, BitPay is another one. But do your due diligence to see which one will work for you. There's several of them out there.
Okay. Now, so let's keep talking about that, because that's really interesting to see how people might do that. What if we start saying, all right, on our revenue side as a firm, we'll take some Bitcoin. Now, on the outgo, the other side, we still need to be paying our employees, our vendors in cash. So that's what they want still. They are not ready to do that. So should we put some parameters in place and say, we take Bitcoin, but we'll only take payment in 10%. Only 10% of what you owe us can be taken in Bitcoin. The rest you have to pay us in cash. Do you start setting up parameters to protect your business?
So not like that, because from a user consumer side, then they're not going to place the order, because they're like, I got to get out 2 cards. So here's the cool thing. So with companies like Coinbase, Coin Payments, they can actually, so say I pay you $10 in Bitcoin. On the back end, they can actually immediately sell that Bitcoin and give you your $10. So if you want, as a company, you can stabilize that money in a certain window of time, and they will guarantee that $10 in Bitcoin is $10. And that for some companies, that may make sense. For other companies, they're like, no, I actually just want the full Bitcoin. I'm okay with the price fluctuation, because those companies may take Bitcoin and then go put it on an application that's turning around 20 to 30% and leave it there to accumulate over time, because now they're growing their capital and their treasury reserve. So they have a different strategy. They want to use the Bitcoin in DeFi, so they're okay with the fluctuations. Whereas some people say, no, the minute you pay me in Bitcoin, on the back end, the software is going to transfer it into dollars or euros or whatever it is you want. And then you can go continue to spend in your business. So there's a strategy to it, and every company's going to be a little different. Yeah.
Okay. So it just depends on what your company's goals are, as to what you're trying to do. So let's say we get an account, a business account with Coinbase, and we say, hey, we take crypto now. We can take crypto, Bitcoin, say, from everybody. And then we can tell Coinbase, hey, I do want you to give me 75% of that immediately back in cash. I'm going to risk 25% of what my clients are paying me. And so now I'm playing the market in a safer way, but I've got to be able to live on the 75% of what clients are paying. Because I still got to pay payroll in cash. But that's one way to do it, I guess. I never thought about that.
That's like there's so many use cases to Bitcoin beyond, because once you receive dollars, that's it. right?
Yeah.
That's the end of the conversation. But with Bitcoin, it's like, oh, wow, I can actually invest it and have it be a part of a growing market. This is why it's like early adopters will see the most growth and the best growth than those who are later on the tail. Like that's how all markets are. Like
Yeah.
once you get in at the top, it's kind of like, well, the steam's already ran out.
I love it.
So
God, this is great stuff. All right, we're coming towards the end, but so let's say I do want to invest. I want to put, $2,500, in Bitcoin or something stable, maybe. Where do I go? What's the first thing I log into? Do I need to, what account? Or you're like, there are thousands, Jason.
I know. I was like, first thing you should do is go to CPA Academy and take my 3 courses on how to get involved in crypto.
Okay, there you go.
So that way you have a good foundation. But then after that, so the major accounts are Coinbase is the top one, Kraken, Gemini. They all have very easy onboarding processes. So you literally go sign up. You go through, they're going to KYC you, right?
Yep.
So go through all of that. Some people only takes a few days. Others, it can take a couple of weeks, depending on how congested their network is with new applications.
Yeah.
But then once your account is approved, turn on all your security features, 2FA.
Okay.
I talked about this at a recent class. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to protect your account. That's just like security should be number one, right? Protecting your money.
Right.
And then you connect your bank account or your credit or debit card. And then you move in the money, you move in your dollars, your euros, and then you start buying Bitcoin. Well, I wouldn't say you just start randomly buying.
Right.
You have now the option to buy, but this is where then research, taking some of my courses at CPA Academy will help you to understand, okay, I should actually wait maybe a couple of weeks to buy, or right now the whole market's in a downtrend, so maybe I'm going to dollar cost average over time. But then it's, for some people, they're like, I don't care. I'm going to look at it in 5 years anyways.
Right.
So then, buy whenever then. Buy whenever and sell whenever, I guess. That's a strategy too.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying. Every time I'm asking you, what do you do next? You're like, you need education. That's what you need, right? And you're and that's what you do for a living. You educate people on crypto, but you're saying it even now more than ever because we're so early in this thing we're trying to learn, and you were in the earlier volatile days, but you're like, you still need to be educated on what this is. So you're probably saying to any listener that's listening, if you're going to do this, you need to do it, but you need some education first. Now, so what are the basics in altmoney.com? ALTMONIE.com. That's your site where you educate. How do we go get education there? Where do we go first?
So there's a couple of things. We have a resource section, so that provides you with a lot of links to the basics, right? Basic articles and videos. We have a few videos up to help give you a big picture, because sometimes people get so caught up in the technicalities of crypto that they forget what the big picture is. So I like to always provide a big picture overview.
Okay.
But our resource section, our articles helps you to understand Bitcoin's trend. I'm all about taking away the uncertainty and the volatility, like creating, just like we showed in the graph earlier today, like there's a pattern and a harmonics, but you also have to be able to emotionally go through Bitcoin's fluctuation. Like if you've never lived through Bitcoin dropping 50%, like there's no amount of education I can give you to prepare you for what that feels like. You just have to be there, and it comes back to, well, what was my plan? Right? Like was my plan, because if you say I'm in it for 5 years and Bitcoin, you buy it today, Bitcoin drops 50% tomorrow, has your 5-year game plan changed? Like, why should you sell then?
Yeah.
Has it changed? What's different? Oh, your emotions are different. That's what's different.
That's what's changing, right? So that's cool. The first line of defense really is the education about. You keep saying this, know your money goals. What are you trying to do? Yeah. And so let's say our firm is trying to position ourselves to a new market, right? It's like, okay, you're going to do that if you put on your website, you take Bitcoin. Now you're going to emotionally ride the waves of that too. You need education, but you can accomplish your purpose of positioning yourself in a market by just saying, we take Bitcoin now, right? That's going to accomplish our purpose of positioning and growth to a very particular type of person, which are very forward-thinking people that are not really scared to kind of go out on that edge. So, but we may actually that bleeding edge, but we may go up and down with our balances of cash and Bitcoin in our firm, and we just need to be ready for that. If in fact our main goal is to hit a new market.
Exactly, and recognizing one, by saying we accept Bitcoin, you're also telling crypto users we actually get it. We understand why you're in it. But more importantly, more so than saying we accept Bitcoin, it's where we understand what's happening with Bitcoin to help you with your taxes. This is the biggest conversation. Right now, Bitcoin trading and investing is tax inefficient. I mean, the current tax model does not really work with how technology is right now.
That makes sense.
If you as CPA can say, hey, by the way, we know how to make your strategy more tax efficient so that way you can keep, because we all know it's not how much you make, it's how much you get to keep that's important. And so for those who can raise their hand to say, yes, we even if your firm owns some Bitcoin, at least you can have that conversation in that language to be able to say, and by the way, we also know how to put together tax saving strategies for you. And that's what's important too, because that is going to actually fill your book with more clients than you know what to do with, because we're all looking for tax saving strategies. And since we know that Bitcoin's property, a lot of the other altcoins, the SEC's come back saying you're really securities, but there are already tax structures for property and securities. And if you've been doing it for the last 20, 30 years, you know what those tax structures are. So being able to put it in the context to say, if you're in crypto, we know how to put together some interesting tax saving structures for you. So that way you can continue doing your trading and you continue aping in and mooning and buying your Lambos, but you can do it in a tax structure that works for us, that works for you too.
That's cool. Well, we got to end our show with mooning in and buying Lambos. I'm all about that. That's what we all want, man. Get me my Lamborghini from my Bitcoin investment. So very cool. Well, Sonia, this is so fun. We're in a second series of 4 we're going to be doing on crypto. We're going to be diving into the government in crypto in our show number 3. So boy, that'll be kind of an emotional ride to figure out what we can learn about what the world is doing and how different governments are responding. So, Sonia, thank you so much. Do you have an upcoming CPA Academy, or just they just need to log into cpaacademy.org and find your webinars? Basically?
Yes. So every month we're doing deep dives, everything from understanding Bitcoin's trend to understanding what's happening in the markets to just the basics of wallets and exchanges and getting set up. So definitely go to CPA Academy. I am there teaching every month. So I'm here to help and educate.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Sonia with altmoney.com. We appreciate you being on the Thrivecast.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. It's fabulous.
Take care. We'll see you. Bye-bye.